Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, depending on what time zone you're in. We have another wonderful interview in store for you. This is a new friend that I met on Friday named Tom Cusack, and he goes on Twitter by A Level Playing Field. And I watched a couple of his Twitter activity posts and was intrigued by where he seemed like he was coming from. It seemed like we had some things in common, and so we got a chance to talk on Friday for a little bit. And turns out that we've got a lot in common. One is we're close to the same age. I've got a little bit of time on him, but we're in the same group age-wise, and we're both have been in digital marketing kind of. And so I had a really great conversation, started off with Tom on Friday, and he graciously agreed to come on with us and continue that conversation so we can get to know a little bit about him and his crypto and XRP experience. And so, Tom, would you like to introduce yourself to everyone?
Yeah. Hi, my name is Tom Cusack, and I don't know how I actually got into crypto. I have a friend that used to work for me, and he started posting at the last quarter of 2017. I'm making more money, with Bitcoin or whatever it was he said, than I'm making at work. And I thought, what is he talking about, And what is Bitcoin? Long story short is I checked in with him and I said, what are you talking about? And he started talking about central banks and fiat and the Rothschilds and all this stuff. And I said, we got to do lunch, So we sat and we talked, and I thought, okay, there's good news and there's bad news. The good news is I got in and I started to make some money, which is probably actually the bad news, because I started making money. I said, oh, okay, well then I'm all in. Right, the last quarter of 2017. So here comes
Ouch.
January, right?
Ouch.
It's one of those storylines where it's almost like telling a joke and you don't have to say the punchline. So
Yep.
Anyway, I'll preface something real fast. I actually had a heart attack about 5 years ago, and I also had an event that came with that caused some short-term memory. So I may end up needing your help remembering a few pieces from time to time. And the other thing that you'll see is that I have tricks. So if you see a ticky tick, whatever, I've lived with it all my life. So anyways, January happens. And I've always thought, pre my accident, pre everything that went down, especially as a youngster. Listen, when you're a youngster, you think you know everything. But I was blessed with a little bit of an IQ, and so to be taken so hard in January, and I thought, was this a scam? What really happened? And I spent most, I guess, the first half of 2018 researching and trying to figure out, in other words, how stupid am I, or what did I do wrong? But it seemed like the more I researched, the more I realized I wasn't wrong. Really, I started to say, well, I was just taken for a ride. And I want to say by the banks, but whoever really controls all of this. And I guess they wanted people out of the market, and they wanted to make room for their friends and buddies, and so that they want to get on the ground floor, and then when they're ready, they use us to lift them up. So it took until about the third quarter of 2018 where I finally trusted it enough, and I said, no, I wasn't wrong. And I started to go back in, and I started putting money in and whatever. And you know what? It still went down. I think when I was coming back in, I think maybe XRP was at 32 cents, and now we're at 20. But this is going to sound weird, and I'm weird, so I'm okay with it. I'm okay with this. This is going to sound weird. XRP can't go much lower. We got 20 cents, right? We don't have a lot of space to go down. But let's do a pretend, because there are two pretends. One pretend is we're right, and one pretend is we're wrong, right? Like one or the other. If we're right, listen, the worst we can, the worst in my opinion we can do is get back to the 385, $3.85 zone, because that was just off of fluff and pump. We already know the banks. We already know how many people are committed and on this with us. But you know, and I know better. We know that this is going to go a lot bigger than that. So for me, at least, I don't care. I don't care that we went from 32 cents and whatever I went in, the money I put in is worth less now. I don't care, because it's just, what's it going to drop to 15 cents? Fine. Drop to 15, drop to 10 cents. Put in more. I'm not giving, by the way, we know this. We're not giving financial advice. You and I were just having a conversation. There's just some people listening, hopefully.
Yes.
But what's, like, I don't mean to say what's the odds, but like, listen, 20 cents is the buffer one direction, and what can it do in the future if it really is going to go up? So I personally, and that's the other thing that happened in that 6-month period. I said, okay, what is it Bitcoin, and what are the others? Like, I like Cardano, I like VET. There's some other really good choices out there. There's a lot of bad choices, I think, but the more I learned about XRP, the crazier I got. The more I just thought, oh my God, and I get it. I get the banks. And listen, sorry if I go too far with my language. You can kind of give me the old schmack.
No problem.
But listen, we've been taken for a ride by the banks. And when I say the banks, fill in the blanks, financial institutions, whatever. They print money, and they and the banks can loan way more. You put in 1,000, but they can loan us however many multiples on that 1,000, fractional banking. So it's all con game. But there was part of me inside that said, "Listen, I want to be the rebel. I want to be Bitcoin, but the big boys aren't going to allow too much of this nonsense. I mean, Bitcoin will survive, and I know that we can't quote unquote stop it and stuff like that. But I wanted to pick somebody that was going to work with the system, and XRP was that. So, a little bit about myself. I started a IT service company. We've been around for 30 plus years. I'm partially retired at this point, and I say partially because I kept some of my larger clients, and I do. By the way, the reason I probably look glared is because I kind of have this trading desk thing, so I have all these monitors, and they're glaring on me. And because I don't remember so much, I have a few notes up here that I wrote to myself in case I can't remember something. But the bottom line is, I started an IT business, and it went well. And along the way, I ended up, we developed websites, and I sold off that branch of it, and we did hosting, and we host. What happened was, we were hosting websites, and we were charging $10 to $20 a month, depending on whatever. And then the GoDaddies came along, and the big boys came into the game. So now I host a lot of virtual servers. I go into a company, I virtualize their server, put it in the data center, interconnect all the offices, VPN and such. So I don't have to do a lot of work. I'm getting older. So I maintain the servers and the redundancies and such. And I do some remote work. But to be honest with you, other than that, I spend a lot of time watching all our digital asset investors, and I'm watching this. And here's the funny thing is, when I grew up, I always felt in my brain that I'm not going to necessarily get rich off of business. It's probably going to be the house. You buy the house, and at 10 to 20 years, they said, how much did you save and put in your bank account? Well, 10,000, 20,000, whatever, fill in the blank. And they'll say, but by the way, I bought my house for 150 and now it's worth 400. So I always thought it was the house, but I think it might be this. Yeah.
Well, and that's fascinating to me to hear that, because you've been now in business self-employed 35 years-ish,
Yeah.
somewhere in that range. And
Yeah.
so you're not a person that just fell off the turnip truck.
Well,
and you've been able to build your business up to the point where now you're semi-retired and basically working, picking and choosing some of the clients that you've still got to work with. So I think that gives you a very unique, Tom, ability to be able to, because you understand how business works. And for the younger people in the XRP community and anybody else that may run across this video, being able to find somebody like you with the experience of understanding how business works and how you came to the decision that when you saw how Ripple, the narrative that they were working off of, that it was better to work with the man than it was to try to run the man out of town. Because I got for you, the man, the banks and the governments, that I love it when Brad Garlinghouse said, if you want to try to do that, they're going to bring out the guns and the tanks.
That's right.
So it just doesn't make any sense. And that's one of the things that really I appreciated about what Ripple was doing from the very start, which was to try to build relationships with the existing system and give them something upgraded that works better. So do you agree with that?
Absolutely. It's a weird, I'm going to fall back a little bit on my story. Like, I never wanted to build websites. I never wanted to be in hosting and stuff like that. So if you said, what's the real quick as far as being an entrepreneur, what some of the secrets that I learned, it has to do less with being, if you're building hamburgers, I don't care if you're the best or the worst or making hamburgers. It has more to do with trust and relationships. And what I mean by that is, I really would give the benefit of the doubt. So if I was out at a job and let's say it was a 10-hour job and I just felt like some of it I had to do a little research to find the solution, then maybe I charged 8. And I'd tell the guy. And it got to the point where they would stop looking over my shoulder and there was trust. And, years of that go by and then they say, hey, I'm interested in a website. There was plenty of website guys out there, people that they could have pulled, but they said, well, what can you do it? You know what I mean? And then it got, and that was early on. So when everybody wanted to start their own website, but then they said, well, who can host? I think it has to do with relationships and trust. And I think the same thing is with XRP and Ripple. If they think you're coming at them, they'll shut you down. The SEC, the CFTC, and they'll come at, they'll close you down. I think Ripple's doing everything right, and they're being honest about it. They're not jumping out and say, by the way, it's going to be worth $1 next week or anything. I think they're keeping a nice separation, but I love them. I love who they represent, and I love the token or the coin too. I like the idea that it can move very, very fast. I actually think it's Internet 2.0, personally. I mean, the information highway, and this is like sharing money. And of course, what we always hear is it's all of the money. I think it's amazing. I think that, and here's the sad part, is I've tried to educate, and I've tried to bring in the family, and and it's more, the more people I bring in, the more I get that text message or that them jerk, they yank my chain and they go, hey, how's that XRP going? Like that. Yeah. And, and I'll give like these lectures. I've been asked to come in and I've done it. And nobody wants to have patience. Like everybody wants to get rich tomorrow. Like you talk about young people. Sometimes I get emotional too. Sometimes I drive down the street, and I live in Phoenix. It's hot in the summer. I mean, there are hotter places, but it's hot. And I'll see some guy tarring, a roof or working out and digging a ditch, and it's 100 and whatever. And I'm driving in this air-conditioned vehicle. I do get emotional. I mean, some people like whatever, but I realize how blessed I am. And I'm very thankful. And for young people, you know, whether they get their college education or go straight out of high school, it takes a long time to create $10,000 or $20,000. Some of them come out of college and they owe 150,000, right? This. Everybody always says, "God, I wish I grew up and was Bill Gates' next door neighbor, or Jobs, or whatever." I think this is that moment. I think this is that moment. And all these people I share with, and I only had 2 people get in with, you know, into it, and I helped them. But I'll tell you what, when it pops, I'll be an overnight success, and then I'll get a lot of people say, "Well, why didn't you tell me about it?" or this other stuff. It's not that I have apathy. It's just, you know, it's frustrating because I'm trying to.
Yeah.
I believe that much that there's something that's going to happen and it's going to be a big deal.
Yeah, as an entrepreneur, I can identify with that. And the way that I heard that quote was, I became an overnight success. It just took 20 years.
Oh my God. That's the cool thing about, I got a lot of nephews and all these other things, but that's cool about hanging out with guys my age, is they get it. We've been there and done that.
Yep.
And you know, with the heart attack and everything else, it's not like you were crazy, you have the heart attack and all of a sudden you go, "Oh my God, every day's important." I was wise enough early enough to know how blessed, you know, life is, precious and stuff. But I don't take anything for granted. And I'm thankful. I'm really thankful. Sometimes it's knowing the right stuff, and sometimes it's being at the right place at the right time. And whoever's watching this video, whoever's into this stuff, by the way, I don't want somebody to get me wrong. There might be somebody that's into you know, ADA or VET and doesn't care about XRP. In no way am I suggesting they're not going to pop either. They're going to pop. There's a handful of them that are going to pop. So it's not just us. And I'm not a maximalist. I think that's a mistake. I really do.
I do too. Now, Tom, since you went through the .com boom, how many .coms started up and got VC capital?
Oh,
over 5,000,
oh,
right?
Right.
And then when it all shook out, right? We had, you know, Facebook and Google and Amazon and PayPal, and, you know, but they're when you're dealing with all of the money, that there are different use cases that different companies are going to solve a different problem. So that's why I don't get the maxi attitude, because VeChain is handling a completely different problem than what XRP is solving. Now,
yeah.
the one thing that in the XRP world, though, is that if it does end up being the plumbing of the entire financial system, and XRP is used as a bridge currency to help make that flow, then yeah, it tends to have the opportunity to be bigger than some of what the others are, just because the market is bigger. But again, I'm not a maximalist either. I own some Bitcoin, couple of other coins, and I hope that they all go, you know, be successful. I just don't get the maxi attitude, and it mainly comes from the Bitcoin community that I have seen. I just don't understand why they're making it such, in a way, an either or situation. I just get that.
Yeah, I get the banks doing that. You know, Chase, some of these banks, they were all saying Bitcoin and blah, 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 you know, horrible, horrible, horrible. Now Chase has their own product, even though it's an internal product, you know, and all of a sudden all these fintechs start popping open their own trading desks and stuff like that. So I know what they were doing. They're pushing it down. They were setting up for their success, and boom. But the infighting, the way that we're treating each other, I don't get that. I don't get it. I don't know what to get out of it. And they're wrong. And they're wrong. And the reason they're wrong is because I believe that Bitcoin's going to be successful. And I can go on a long, you know, journey as to why. I think these coins are going to be successful. And when it's all said and done, I think we'll find out that we were part of the same family. I don't get what the advantage, again, the banks, I get why they would do it, but why are we doing it to each other? I don't get it.
Well, I mean, Tom, we're in the digital asset family, and again, I don't understand the bickering back and forth. And I've got, I mean, I own a very little bit of Bitcoin now. It was my introduction into the space, but I transferred most of it honestly to XRP.
Right.
But I would have no problem at all whatsoever in any way if Bitcoin went to 100,000. None. What I mean, that to me that doesn't correlate in my mind at all. And let's say that it does. If they're coupled and Bitcoin goes to 100,000, where's that going to put XRP?
Well, listen, let's do a pretend. I mean, I'm just going to ride on your train. If Bitcoin goes to 100,000, there's going to be a mad rush. And of course, part of the mad rush brought it to 100,000. If there's a mad rush to get Bitcoin, and Bitcoin's at 100,000, people are using it. You can, and I know Brad Garlinghouse is the one that brought this out, but you can't buy a cup of coffee with Bitcoin. I think his statement is the coffee will get cold before the payment goes through. So I hope Bitcoin goes to 100,000. I hope that they'll have like the Lightning Network or whatever, but let's be honest. The truth is there's going to be better solutions, and I think it's XRP. XRP moves the money. It moves it very quickly. I hope it goes crazy because we're all going to benefit from Bitcoin's success.
I believe that too. And again, you and I both, I own a digital marketing agency. You own an IT agency. So we kind of understand maybe more than the average person, kind of how that background thing works. And the protocol to me is what really got me more than anything. When they created the ledger and then gave it to the Worldwide Web Consortium, I think.
Yeah.
When I sat there and said, "Oh, okay," because honestly, Tom, people that are not in basically our world, they don't really understand HTTP and then HTTPS. And then understanding the fact that what we're doing is we're going to go to a new protocol that is more secure, blockchain. And we're going to have a blockchain revolution that, in my opinion, is going to dwarf the .com revolution because we are going to be able to provide the 3.5 billion unbanked with the ability to join the economic party. And even if the average transaction goes down, because the 3.5 billion people don't have as much money. Well, the other thing that they don't have enough money to do is to get a freaking bank account. So if you can work in 3.5 billion more people, make it all interoperable, bring everybody to the party, then you've got so many more. It's kind of like that idea of, would you rather get $100 from one person or a dollar from 100? When you're spreading it out, you can make the transactions lower, but end up at the same place and maybe even bigger as we're bringing in the rest of the world into the economic system.
I think that, the unbanked, first of all, I don't want to walk around with a bunch of $100 bills hanging on my pocket, which makes me think of my credit card. Which makes me think, hey, I get some of these people go, well, money's never going to go digital. And I'm like, it already is.
Right.
Have you ever go to chase.com or wellsfargo.com or look at their debit card? It's digital, right? So there's a lot of things that we're bringing to the table, but we already are digital. But if we go to an indigent area, whether it's a country or whatever, I mean, look at Venezuela. I mean, their money is worthless, what are you going to do? Walk around with little gold chips or bars or coins or something that somebody will rob you? I mean, this is a great way to have money. It's a great way to pay for things. And let's say you're a very big company, you're building ships and you want a bunch of steel, and let's say you need it immediately. And I guess I brought that up because I know somebody that does that. And he says sometimes I have to pay for something from out of the country, and it takes forever for them to confirm that they got the money. And so in other words, I lose a week. So whether it's the smaller situation where it might be an individual, or whether it's a large company, everybody's going to benefit from it. I really don't know where the loss is. It's going to be wonderful. If you look at 2008, for example, some of the big financial institutions that were lost, I'm not completely convinced it was from a lack of money that somebody couldn't come in and rush in and save them. I think it had to do with liquidity, not being able to get it in there fast enough. You got the Warren Buffett that maybe he saves a few companies, and they were picking and choosing who they were going to save. Goldman Sachs, for example. There are so many examples of how this is a win. And it's encrypted, and everybody gets a bank account. And by the way, and I even think about charities too. We give all there's a big hurricane, and everybody gives money, and then all of a sudden it's sitting in this account, and we're like, well, you're not doing anything. You're not going out and building out this country and helping them recover. At least with this technology, we can actually look and say, what are you doing with this money? Where did all of a sudden we find out it's diverted somewhere else? So there's accountability too. Can you think of it? So I'll tell you one negative. I was going to ask you, can you think of anything negative? The only negative is I like the accountability, but there might be some privacy give and take. And what I mean by that is that if somebody really wants to drill down on you, they might be able to say, oh, okay, look, he's a diabetic because I can see the pharmacy that he's buying, or if he's into pornography or whatever it is, they might be able to track you a little bit, and they might be able to control you if we get farther down the line. I happen to be a Christian, and I believe I'm a lover of God, and Revelations talks about the mark of the beast, and there's some country in Denmark that is working with XRP. I'm not demonizing either company, but where they're building a chip. And I think they're testing it in Sweden. Does that sound right? Tech something, whatever it is. And it's one of these deals where you either put it in your hand or your forehead or whatever. I am a little scared where we're going with this, because I think if you get far enough down the line, we might find out they might be able to know everything you're doing, and my other fear is them being able to shut you down. I can always have $100 bill in my pocket, but I just don't want them shutting me down.
Well, and again, I was going to say that the anarchists in our crypto family, I think that would be the one thing that, the banker's coin is working with the man. And I don't want to lose all of my personal freedoms and have them be able to track every single transaction that I make. Right. However, it's kind of like, the speeding cameras that they used to have. If I'm not speeding, I could care less about the speeding camera. So I'm a libertarian, so I get the personal freedom part. But again, I love our XRP influencers, and I want to make sure that I give a big shout out, to DAI and to Brad Kimes and to Kevin Cage and to Jungle Inc. and to Crypto Airy. And if I leave anybody out, I apologize. I don't mean to. I love all of our influencers. Good Lord. The amount of time I spend watching your guys and gals' videos is ridiculous. But it's one of the advantages of owning a business is I've got some time freedom, and I'm really into this stuff. And so our anarchist friends would say that everyone except for Sam I Am to the lifeboats, he understands that, but he's practical enough, and I appreciate the angle that DAI helped me with this on, because it helped me get over that idea real quick, like Tom, and that is they're going to do it anyway, whether you like it or not. They're going to do it anyway because it benefits the banks and the governments. So they're going to do it anyway. So Okay, so I want to position myself the best I can to be able to economically take advantage of it the most I can. And then when it moons, I'm moving right back to the mountains of North Carolina along a long dirt road with a very secure gate with great internet and great television, and enjoy the last third of my life playing golf a couple times a week.
Yeah. If you see a U-Haul truck pulling next door, could be me.
Yeah.
I don't know why why it happened, but when you were talking about DAI, I heard him in my head saying, "Do you want my son to draw you a picture?"
Yeah, I want my 7-year-old to drive. And I'm actually, my mother has Alzheimer's, and my sister takes care of her. And I'm going to go to Bogart, Georgia tomorrow. And my sister and her family are going on vacation. So DAI, hey, bro, I'm going to be in South Georgia. I mean, Athens is kind of south. But my mother's side of the family is from a little town called Montezuma, which is in Macon County. And you really can't get too much more south in Georgia than that. So DAI, if you happen to see this video next week, hey, man, give me a ring. I won't be but maybe an hour, hour and a half at most away from you. You get in touch with me, man, I'll buy you lunch. And I deeply appreciate all of the information and education that you've given to me over at least the last year and a half. Really appreciate you.
There's so many good people out there on YouTube, but when I get a newbie and I'm trying to bring them home per se, I send him to DAI just because the way he lays it out. It's just common sense. He talks like real people. If I get somebody that's fairly high on the food chain or more scientific about it all, I just lost his name, and that was an example of there's one gentleman
that's okay. You'll bring it up in a second. And I also I've been real fortunate that I've been able to communicate to the point where now I feel like I can consider Brad Kimes to be a friend of mine.
Right.
Same with Cryptopolis, same with Crypto Airy. And I also, but having said that, if I had a brand newbie that had never really kind of seen anything, the first video that I would start them off with would be DAI's The Master Plan, I think is the name of that video. 35 minutes of pure gold.
There's
So,
another video out there, and I don't remember who it's from, but the guy has a bunch of ink boards, and he shows how, and there's a timeline, and he shows how, all crypto went up, and then all of a sudden all the banks said, no, 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 it's evil, evil, and he just lays it out, and that's kind of shocking. I'm also really interested in the central banks. I've always thought that, I've been to DC a few times, and I always thought the central bank was part of, the Treasury Department or something like that. When you find out what's really going on, by the way, it was to the lifeboats. So if I ever get somebody that's like really wants, that guy is
love Sam. And Tom, as a new friend of mine, make sure that I never get into any kind of a debate or argument with Sam on the other end of it. It's not going to turn out well for me. So I want to avoid that.
No, you and I together, and a buzzsaw.
Yeah. Sam is I'm a libertarian. I'm not quite on the anarchist scale with him, but 98% of what he says, I agree with and I appreciate. And he's a very, very smart and, to me, a very, very sincere guy. So and again, see that's one of the reasons that I'm so much of a believer in the XRP and Ripple world, is because of the level of respect that I have for the intellect of Sam, the level of respect and admiration I have for the intellect of Crypto Airy. Eddie.
She's wonderful.
She is just, cannot say enough nice things about her. DAI too. They just lay all of these things out the way that I would, They just do it better, and it just all seems to make logical sense. So I'm a very big fan of all of our YouTube influencers.
We're very blessed. We're really blessed.
And you know something else, Tom? That's I don't see any other crypto project that has a a company like Ripple behind it. I don't see any of the other ones with Brad Garlinghouse and David Schwartz. I don't see it. I also don't see any of them that have partnerships with all of the companies that Ripple does. And so that's, again, one of the reasons why I believe in the investment that I made. And again, not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor, but I feel so comfortable and excited. And even though it was about 6 months ago when I heard Brad start saying almost a good bit that he really had gotten past the point where he sees this as when, not if. And even though we're still 6 months into when, not if, my belief level has not gone in the other direction.
Do you get in and out, or do you do much trading?
None.
Yeah.
I'm a hodler.
You know, I've gotten a lot into it, and I've seen some people get into the BitMEX or the Bybits, and they use leverage and stuff like that. And if there's any young people that are coming in, again, I talked about my attitude of just kind of buy and hold. You know, I get all these alerts and stuff on my phone. They'll talk about liquidated this, double liquidated, triple whammy, or something, and they seem to just get such joy. It kind of reminds me of that Robin Hood still from the rich, you know, whatever. But it's the opposite. It's the rich. They just take us for a ride, and it's for me. You know, if the coin goes down, just leave it alone. I think people get so worried that, oh my gosh, it went down 3 pennies. I better pull it. And then what happens is whoosh, it skyrockets, and then they panic again. And so yeah, I have a trading desk, but I also do some other things outside of crypto as well. So.
Well, and do you feel like that there is a possibility that the IMF may get some of the escrow and pass it out to the different countries that are members of the IMF, and then they set the price at a certain level, and then off we go, like the pre-allocation theory that Brad Kimes talks about?
I do. Like what I'm kind of interested in is the IPO of Ripple, and right. And the question that kind of, as soon as you asked that question, the question that jumped right past my mind was, how much information did I have to reveal? Apparently, you have to be pretty open about where everything stands. I think they have a lot of XRP. I don't care. Some people panic. They go, "Oh my God, they got 50% left over there," whatever. I think some of it may be pre-allocated, and what I'm interested in is if they do go public, if they have to reveal, even if they don't tell us who owns it, if they just tell us. But do I think the IMF? Yeah. I mean, the faster payment with the central banks. I mean, they were just down in Brazil. Actually, they weren't in Brazil. My understanding was it was a video conference. I mean, who else is talking to the central banks? And by the way, I hear some rumors too that Stellar might be in the game as far as some. I don't care. I don't care. What I care is that we're moving to digital, and let's say Stellar got all of the central banks. Don't care. But I think that we're going to be locking in with NASDAQ and all these other things. Things are going to be tokenized one way or the other. I think it's all going to go over the ILP, and that's home sweet home for XRP.
Yeah, and that's, again, one of the things about the maxi attitude that I don't understand. If people can just recognize just how much money needs to go through the system, and look, we've got MasterCard, we've got Visa, we've got Discover Card, we've got American Express. There is enough room in all of the financial system of the world for more than one digital coin, the cryptocurrency, to be able to make get a good market share. I mean, this is not a if or then. Again, we don't have to get 100% of the market in order for XRP and Ripple to be a home run. I mean, Amazon, think of this. Isn't Amazon, are they monetarily, Tom, the most successful company right now in the world?
Well, I mean, yeah, if you get, I have a really good story about them, but Walmart family and the Amazon and, and by the way,
that's my point. Amazon is making a huge amount of money, but so is Walmart. So it's not that Amazon, when they came along, was going to be the only store that anybody bought anything from. It just doesn't make any sense at all. So there's plenty of room for more than one cryptocurrency to be able to help the people who are invest in those to be able to make a very nice return for themselves.
I unfortunately, and I know this is stereotyping, but I think we grew up, with the high school football games and everything else, and we watched the, NBA and whatever, and there's always a winner, there's always a loser. And somehow we kind of got in the back of our mind this mentality that somebody's going to win and somebody's going to lose. I'm with you. I think there's going to be a handful of winners, but Brad Garlinghouse says there's going to be a lot of losers too. But those losers, if you don't have a purpose here, like if you're making a solution and then you're trying to find the problem, that's wrong. I think there's going to be a handful of winners, and I don't think it's going to be one. It's not winner takes all. I think it's going to be a platform. I think the ILP is the platform, and I think there's going to be a handful of coins that are just going to, I mean, like, for example, every time I go to a doctor's office, I go to a new doctor's office and I got to fill out all that paperwork. Wouldn't it be great if it was on the blockchain? And then I go to another doctor. You know what I'm saying? And what VET does, and they're going to track products, so that somebody can't make a fake watch, or maybe they want to make sure that the food's coming from where they thought it was coming from. Cardano with the smart contracts. Of course, we're looking at our own version of some smart contracts with XRP too. And then thank God that Ethereum is finally switching over, and
what, you don't think proof of work makes any sense?
You know what? It's really weird. I think Bitcoin is far enough along, and they ain't going to change. And I'm kind of okay with that. I'm okay with that. I'm a green earth kind of a guy. I just happen to be a vegetarian. This guy, I have a little bit of weight. This guy told me this horrible thing the other day. I was talking about Simon Cowell and how he just became a vegetarian, and that's why he looks so thin. He says, yeah, that's my experience. He says, most vegetarians are thin. And they looked at me and said, what happened to you? I was like, you son of a bitch. But there's going to be, well, listen, we can go to school, let's say for 4 years, or maybe 6 years, and we can do this and we can do that. And we can buy a house, but why can't we just wait a couple years? Buy in, don't worry about the price, relax, and just let it happen. And boy, isn't it happening fast? I mean, like real fast.
Tom, do you feel like that and I know that there's some people that feel like maybe it was done on purpose, but I'm not sure I buy into that nefarious narrative. But do you feel like that the beer cold has sped up the development and the adoption of what the governments have to do, number one? And then the other thing, and I'll ask it again, but do you feel like that America really, really, like Chris Larson said the other day, needs to get on the stick, the regulators, because China's not. And every single day that we wait and give China more time to get ahead, then the one big thing too is that is the intellectual property. If they begin to get the brightest minds and hire them away from America being able to utilize the brain power moving into the blockchain revolution, that's one of the biggest things that we all ought to be terrified of, is letting them get ahead intellectually.
Yeah. You know, there's theories about China and the beer cold and flu, and um, maybe it was created in a lab, and we talk about 5G and all this other stuff. I'm going to be I'm going to zoom out away from that and answer it a different way. I do, but I don't sort of care how it got here. I don't know if it was a conspiracy. I don't know. But what I do care about is that the United States took a pretty big hit. I mean, there's a lot of mom and pops that are going bankrupt, and now we're starting to see some of the big boys that are starting to fold. Um, and by the way, how many trillions of dollars can we print before, it's time that we're going to get ourselves in trouble? I mean,
It doesn't seem anybody's asking that over at the Fed.
yeah. Um, I have this really, really weird theory, but I don't know if it's too spooky or too tin hat to go into as it relates to some of this. Should I, or just?
Yeah, hold on one second.
All right. Oh no.
Okay, lay on.
That's awesome. You're awesome, man. You're so cool. Um, I think now it's not the richest family, but I think the Rothschilds are one of the richest. I think apparently they own or control most of the central banks around the world. I also found that there was like 4 or 5 banks that weren't, or countries that didn't have a central bank. And apparently 2 of them were the recent countries that the United States got in the military thing with. Sometimes I wonder, who's really pulling the strings? And I do think that there's a small handful of, I want to say bankers, but it's so much bigger than that, that really have the money. Let's pretend and they have their own think tanks and all these things like this. So let's pretend like you were a part of the Rothschilds. I'm picking on them, but there are some other ones, but you were part of the Rothschilds. A lot of what you own is physical assets, like, buildings and property and all this stuff like that. And by the way, I know that there's gold, so you can have gold, but you also have to be liquid. And let's sidestep for a second. If you had, and we talked about those people that Nostro Vostro accounts around the world.
Nostro, yep.
So if you had a bunch of money, let's say in Venezuela, and their value drops, of course, whoever has that lost a lot of money as well. So I have this weird tin hat feeling that they know that the United States is going to take a hit. And if you are part of this Rothschild family, and in as much as you have a lot of physical assets, but you also have liquid assets, and if a lot of that is in U.S. currency, even if it's not physical, even if it's digits on the board, but the dollar starts to drop, then you start to drop. There's part of me that wonders whether or not some of this is organized, and that with XRP, everything's very, very liquid. As a matter of fact, I think Warren Buffett made a whole heck of a lot of money during 2008.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think that some of the ultra rich need to be able to pull away from the US dollar. And I think digital currency is part of that solution. I think they need to be able to quickly move it around. I think they're going to own a lot of Bitcoin. China has moved, their central bank and such is moving to their own digital dollar. I think we got to get on top of it too. I think it's what digital asset investors said. Whether we like it or not, or believe it or not, it's going to happen. It's not like if we don't believe it, it's not going to happen. It's going to happen. I think we're going to be drugged, kicking and screaming into the digital age, and I don't necessarily think it's all of us that's going to make the decision. I think the decision's been made a long time ago. And I think it's been made by people who are up high on the food chain. And you've got to wonder, how does Ripple and XRP, how, like the connections? Like if I made a product and I'm on a Shark Tank, it would be so difficult to try to get a meeting for, let's say, to get on Walmart. XRP and Ripple is getting, like, there's insider stuff going on. They're like,
Yeah.
right? They're meeting the best of the best of the best, and they're getting help.
And Tom, that's one of the things, again, that you bring such value to this conversation, because you've been in business for 35 years. I have worked for other people part of the time, but I've also am a business owner. And people that are not in our shoes don't understand. You just can't go knock on Walmart's door and get a meeting with the people, the decision makers. You just can't do. It's not as easy. And how in the world did Ripple? How were they able to be to move in those circles the way that they have? And if you think about it as well, look at all of the other digital currency projects out there. Are any of them talking to all these kinds of people?
No. Can you tell me a story from that one gentleman that's on the Ripple board?
Yes, Klaus von Gutenberg is possibly going to be the next German chancellor when Merkel steps down. And very accomplished gentleman, and he has been on the Ripple board of directors since 2014. And I love the SPQR guys and Lee and Jay, who I've been lucky enough to make friendships with and interviewed both of them. They did a video that they explained that Mr. Gutenberg is actually in the bloodline of the Medici family. And for those of you that didn't watch that video, the Medici family, going back to the Holy Roman Empire, are actually the family who started banking in the entire world. And they dominated it for centuries, but then they got pushed out of the banking business. And it was either by a family, I don't know if I've got this, it's one or the other. It's either the Fruger family or the Pfluger family. But they pushed, in a power move, pushed the Medici out of banking. And then it looks to me like, putting on my tin hat, looks to me like that the Medici family wants to get back into banking, and they're doing it through working and helping Ripple.
Sometimes I can live with a coincidence or two, but when you got layers upon layers upon layers.
Yeah. Back to DAI. Do we, Tom, need to have his 7-year-old draw a picture?
Well, I will say this. I'm gonna, if you don't mind, I'm gonna shift the conversation a little bit. We're blessed, and it was kind of going back to what I was talking about with God and such. We're really, really blessed. I think that we're in the right place at the right time, and I think some of us have suffered. I think we've gone through stages of waking up in the middle of the night and checking the numbers and all this other stuff. Hopefully we can relax a little bit and have some faith. Again, who cares if it goes from 20 to 15? Some do, I don't. Because I really am all in, I believe. I know that, they say do your own research. I have, and it's amazing. But comes with those blessings also comes, I think, some level of responsibility, because we came in naked, right? And we're not leaving with any of it. I don't think we own any of this. We're blessed to be able to, it's not like on lease or something. And I'm hoping a couple things. I'm hoping when this pops, I hope that when this happens, that there's some get-togethers that are put up. Like, I don't care where they're at, Vegas or wherever they're at, because I'd like to meet you. I'd love to meet you in person. I'd love to meet some, digital asset investor and some of the guys. So that two things I'd like to happen. I'd like to just thank a lot of the people that are in the community for the blessings they've been in and the encouragement and the research that they've done. It's not like they're getting paid for it. And the other thing I want to do, or I'm all in on, and you're actually, I didn't bring it up to you, you brought it up to me, but it was something that was in my heart, is that I think that when God blesses us and he lays this down, I think we have a responsibility to help others too, you know? And everybody can choose what that means, meaning like maybe it's a nephew, maybe it's a family member, maybe it's a homeless vet, maybe it's a whatever. And you know, like maybe the bigger the blessing, the more, you know, set up a shelter or a food bank or whatever your spirit, your heart. But maybe you can talk a little bit about your thoughts on that. But I just think it's important not to be a give me, give. Listen, entitlement is like one of the biggest. Everybody has their own mantras. Entitlement is an issue for me, and I even think it's on my Twitter page. It's something about it. I'm thankful. I feel very blessed. Love our relationships with each other. And I know that sounds a little hokey pokey, but when we're laying in bed and we're on our last breath and stuff like that, we're not taking the money, but who we, you know, the lives we changed and all those kinds of things. That's kind of what really matters.
I agree 1,000%. And I have, on a personal level, I have shared this openly and honestly. I'm a recovering alcoholic and drug addict, and I am one of the most fortunate people, in my estimation, in the history of the world, because I was able to get myself in enough trouble that at the age of 22, I had to reevaluate, and I had that aha moment, and I
Mhm.
became willing as only the dying can be, and evaluated what I was doing and the direction that I was going in. And I was very fortunate to sober up then, and have remained that way since. So there's not that many 58-year-old people walking around that have been sober for 36 years.
That's awesome.
And my life, thank you. And my reason for saying that is not to impress anyone, although I must say it's pretty damn impressive.
It is. It is. It is.
But in all seriousness, Tom, but my life now, as the at this point moving forward, I'm living. I mean, from 22 on, I've been living on borrowed time. I
Yeah.
should legitimately be dead, but for
Hmm.
some reason I'm not, and for some reason I've been able to live a life and have a mindset that of gratitude for just being here, that a lot, I don't see that a lot of people have. And what I want to do, dedicating the last third of my life, is pretty much just dedicated to the service of helping others,
Yes.
because I've been blessed with the ability. I've been in sales most of my life. Most people can't do that. They hate the idea of it. I love it. I'm a rejection machine. I mean, because I've learned that it's not personal, and just to keep asking, and you'll eventually get, being persistent, you'll get what you ask for if you keep asking long enough. And having said all of that, I just wanted to let you know that that's one of the reasons that I'm doing this channel and doing interviews, is because I'm making connections with new friends. And when XRP moons, if I have made friendships with 50 or 100 people, and they're all funded with money, and we find things that we might like to do together, we can
Yes.
have an impact if we have three things. Number one, an agreed upon thing we would like to do together. Number
Hmm.
two, enough numbers of us. And number three, that we've got capital. Those three things are vital if people want to try to do something together for good. And that's one of the things that I see coming out of all of this. And again, it's one of the reasons that I put this channel together and put our website together, and have gone into the interview side instead of getting research and putting out a daily video on the news of the day article. I want to make a connection with other people in the XRP army, not just read regurgitated news.
You ever watch, and I'm sure everybody has, but you ever watch these YouTube videos where somebody's colorblind and they put on those glasses?
Yes.
And the tears start running down their face, or there's maybe a baby that can't hear and they put something, whatever it is, and the mother's holding the baby and starts talking to the baby, and the baby kind of shocked and goes, oh, you know, and realizes that's the sound of mom. Those moments, I mean, those are the moments. So, you know, and so like if I was to partially circle back, that's why, you know, the different groups that are fighting each other, that are maximalists or whatever. Look, and yeah, I know some of this is painful because the price has been going down, but just watch the progress. Just do your own research. But when you see what's happening on all the connections and it's building so fast, and this price hasn't moved, that's kind of shocking. The price hasn't like really moved in a big, significant way. It's going to happen, and when it happens, and then when we're blessed, I think, at least I can speak for myself, I think it's really important that we give back. I can't imagine, I guess I can, but I can't imagine passing away and having a bunch of money in my bank account and not having changed lives. So I think that we're being trusted with this opportunity. I can't imagine doing anything other than wanting to go out, because listen, I'll tell you something. This is going to sound weird. And I had to shift subjects because I was trying to get a thought out. Somebody, and I don't remember which one it was, but one of the big dudes, the original dudes from Microsoft, I think it's the guy that bought the Seattle Seahawks. Somebody was interviewing him, and this was a long time ago, but he was a millionaire and then he became a billionaire. And there was one question the interviewer asked that I thought was great. And she asked, listen, you were a millionaire, now you're a billionaire. What's the difference? And the guy paused for a second and he said, you know, I'm not sure that there's a big difference. Yeah, you can play a bigger Monopoly game, but at the end of the day, I can't buy a better suit. I can't. I could have bought the same suit as a millionaire. I can't buy a better steak at a restaurant. I can't, you know, I can't get better seats, you know, at the theater or whatever. Well, I took that answer and I pulled it down just a shift. I'm in a house, I got air conditioning, I got clothes, I got, you know, phones and watches, I got everything. I'm blessed, I guess is what I'm saying. And yet we seem to be so worried about winning, you know, and oh my God, the Bitcoiners versus this, or the 20 cents versus the 21 cents. Listen, lay back, relax, enjoy your life, be thankful for every day that you receive. This blessing is coming, and when this blessing comes, there's only so much that we're supposed to hold, and I think it's our responsibility to turn around and lift up others and try to, you know, pass that blessing on.
I couldn't agree more. So as we're winding down, one thing that I'd like to ask is, do you, Brad Garlinghouse, in, I believe it was around October, in an interview said that we were about in mile 3 in the 26-mile marathon. Do you believe that the world events, the rioting and the beer cold and everything has been like a quickening? Do you think things are being sped up with the worldwide events that we need to go? And China with their development, they're not waiting, they're going ahead, and our regulators need to get their butts in gear. But do you think, what milestone do you believe that we're at now?
You know, my only problem, first of all, I will answer it, but my only problem is it depends on what the goal is. Like in other words, if we're running a race, you know, if it's a 10,000 meter, then you know there's this line, and when you cross, so it depends on what the line is. Is the line when XRP is at $1, or is the line when we've converted to digital dollars as a country or as a world? You know, so but let me try to answer anyway. So I guess I'm saying I guess it depends on what the goal is, but this is happening fast. If you think about it, I mean, we've only been doing this for a few years. I'm not talking about the original, like 2016, 2017, there's only a few years. I mean, name some other industry that has blown out like this fast. So let's pretend whether it's 5 years from now or even 10 years. Listen, I mean, that matters more to us because we're older.
Yeah.
Listen, right? But let's just pick a number. 5 years from now, it's going to be a whole different world. It's going to be a whole different situation. I don't think, I mean, it will technically still exist, but we're not going to be pulling $20 bills out at the grocery store. It's just not. So, and these youngsters, I mean, this is, whether they're playing games online and they're trading, and there's so many examples of digital currencies, whether it's as big as the central banks or maybe the commercial banks, or all the way down to the Xboxers. It's happening, and it's happening really, really fast. How far along are we? I would say a third. I think that a lot of the handshaking, a lot of the development is locking in place. And again, here comes a little bit of the tinfoil hats. I think that we've been held back on purpose a little bit. I think certain announcements haven't happened. I think there's a reason the SEC and such that they haven't announced some stuff, even the digital dollar. I think they know what they're doing. I would suggest that a year from today, I'm not picking any magic date, but I think a year from today, if you and I were doing another video, there would be we would say, oh my gosh, there was this announcement here that it's going to change. It's going to change. There's going to be a pop in the price, but then there's going to be more pops that are going to come after that. I would say that we're a third of the way. I think that the developments and a lot of handshaking is in place. I like that Ripple went to this new cloud thing, so they don't have to go in and interconnect with it. So it's making people roll into it much faster. Don't you think? I mean, like a year from now, if we said a year from now, what do you visualize?
I think you're accurate, and again, I don't know. I don't know if the world economy, if the banksters can kick the can down the road that long. And I think that one of the greatest things that we all have going for us is Christine Lagarde and the Georgina lady who is running the IMF. I think that they know that the system that they're working in is toast. I mean, I don't know. I think part of it comes with age. I'm not. My degree, college degree, is in radio and TV communications. It's not economics. But since The Big Short and my crypto experience, I've been educating myself on things economic. And it's all self-taught, just videos on YouTube. But I see no way out of $147 trillion worth of unfunded liabilities that the American government put together. There's no way out.
Right.
They've got to reset it. And in history, Tom, we've got circumstances that have led us to a debt jubilee before. It's not unprecedented. But again, you tell me, and all of the I've got a little bit. I'm not a fan in any way, shape, or form of any traditional financial person. So yeah, I'm not a financial advisor, but here's what I got for the ones who are.
Well, I'll tell you my problem with professional financial advisors, of which I'm not. I'm just like you. I'm just some dude that's doing his own research. They are only in if they can make a buck off of it. I'm not saying they're evil. I'm just saying that if the best solution was right here, they're not going to bring you to that unless they can make money along the way.
Well, and I can give you a real life example of that, and I won't mention, I don't want to get sued, but so I'm not going to mention the name of the financial advisor and what bank he works for. But if it doesn't, he will not diversify my parents' portfolio with him into any gold or any silver or any crypto, because if he does, he doesn't have those products set up, Tom, to be able to make commissions off of it. So he bought bonds for them about a month ago, and my dad was telling me, hey, this guy, look what he did. He got all these bonds he bought. Isn't he good? No, he's not good. No, even a complete moron would know that bonds are not good right now. But this guy won't diversify and listen to someone like Lynette Zhang, who is somebody else that I follow, that I'd like to give a big shout out to. That lady gets it. Very smart lady. But the traditional financial advisors, again, the whole system's getting ready to crumble. So they're geniuses at that. That's like saying, I understand Kodak better than anybody ever has, right as the digital camera on our phones began to come out. So what?
I would almost advise to not worry about what the individual advisors are doing, watch what the company is doing. For example, BlackRock is buying up gold like crazy. BlackRock is gobbling up Bitcoin. Did I say gold? Bitcoin, like crazy. Look at NASDAQ. Look what BAC did. That's, the New York Stock Exchange. So look, even Chase themselves. I mean, then I think that they're trying to hook up and do something with Coinbase. I don't care what the individual advisors do. If I could, I would just take them out of and just watch the company themselves. Watch their announcements, see what they're doing, because that's usually. I actually think it's digital asset investors says something about not listening to what they say. Watch what they're doing.
Yep. That was another one of his wise comments. I'll probably borrow that myself some more. So, Tom, in closing, there's one thing I always, when I've really enjoyed having a conversation with somebody, I always invite them to come back in the future. And I haven't not invited anybody back. I've loved every one of the people that I've gotten to know a little bit better. So I would like to invite you to come back at a later date. Not a year from now, but much, much, much sooner than that. So we can get back together and maybe in a month or so and kind of see maybe what's developed, and maybe we can figure out how much closer to that marathon crossing or finish line that we're getting to. And then would you like to say in parting, as a parting message, farewell message to everybody, at least from this interview, before we do the next, any final message you'd like to send out there to our XRP community? And I will ask this one last thing. I am doing my best to be able to get the women in our XRP community to do what you and I are doing right now, because I believe we need to have as many of our ladies give their XRP and crypto stories as possible. And so if you were to mention to any of the women in our community that if it's safe to do this and nothing bad happens if you do it, then I would appreciate that. And then whatever other final message that you'd like to pass along to everyone today.
Well, first of all, I want to thank you, and I don't think you give yourself enough credit. And I like what you're doing. You're building relationships. That goes back to my entrepreneurship. What you're doing is as important, if not more important. It's you're kind of bringing the family together. I mean, there's so many Sam I Ams. There's so much knowledge I can get from the professor. But there's this desire within me wanting to know these guys like on a real basis. Some of my favorite Sam I Am, for example, videos are when he's walking around the farm, right? Just connecting. So thank you for inviting me, and thank you for connecting our community together. And boy, you must have been, I can tell you, I think you watched a lot of videos because you really and you know your stuff, and I'm very impressed. And I know you hit the question a couple times. I don't know when we're going to hit, and of course the goal is, it's hard to say, but I do think we're going to start to tank a little bit. And I don't even know if the flu is going to come back with a vengeance or not. But I do think a year from now, I think the first thing we're going to suffer, unfortunately, is financially. I think it's going to be more of this, and their liquidity. It's sort of like real estate. They say location. I'm not sure that people, I think they do, like especially the people in XRP, but like out on the street, I'm not sure if they realize how important liquidity is. And by the way, you get somebody, let's say, that's on a cruise ship and they're working their hiney off and they want to send money home, and 5%, 6, 7, 8% is taken out for fees. And if we can do this in a way where they can send it as close to free as possible, blessing people, changing the world, I think is what XRP is doing. But connecting builds community, it builds trust. And yeah, I'd like to come back. I think this was fun. I'm not the sophisticated guy that can come in with all the knowledge. I can only come in on the most part with my heart and my just like owning a business and what is it like. I suffered, and I think there's a lot of people drop out of the crypto sphere. I suffered. I'm not going to sit here and go, oh yeah, I'm the best. I did. I took a bit of a hit. But instead of worrying about the numbers, I looked at this and I said, is this real, or was this some kind of Ponzi scheme? And from all my gut, from everything this is real. This is the real deal. And we're about to be blessed. And I think that, again, the goal, I think that we're going to take a little bit of a hit. And as that hit starts to hit, I think that it's going to awaken some people in DC, and they're going to finally pass the digital dollar, and they're going to pass a few other things. I think Crypto Mom might be in charge of the SEC pretty soon. I think there's a few things that are going to happen in Europe. Yeah, I love her. I think a year from now, there's going to be quite a bit of a change. But let's pretend like we're not impatient. Let's say we are patient. 2 to 5 years from now, we won't recognize even ourselves in a sense, financially. We won't recognize ourselves. We won't. We'll be overnight successes. And that'll be and then it will be our turn to be faithful with the blessings that we receive. So thank you for blessing me and being my friend.
And any message to the women in our community would you like to see and hear more from the women in our community that I'm trying and inviting to come on and share their story? And if they seem and are feeling a little bit gun shy, do you want to kind of give them a little reinforcement that nothing bad will happen?
Honestly, see, some of my most important people are women, like our mom. Like, you know how to get in the fastest fight with another guy and say something bad about their mom. Right? I mean, yep. And then our wives.
Yep.
Now, I don't have children, but I can imagine our daughters as well. It's almost stereotyping to say they're as smart as us. I wonder if we're as smart as them. They're sweet, genuine, thoughtful. I'm going to look at Crypto Eddie. Is it Eddie? Am I saying that right?
Crypto Eddie. So Eddie, it's spelled Eddie, but I believe it's pronounced Eddie.
From Japan. Yep. Anytime I've ever emailed her, she responds. And I know that she's got to be inundated with stuff. Women are the sweetest, and for them not to be, they're engaged. I believe they're engaged. But for them not to step up and be recognized and to share their experience, it actually hurts us. So yes, I absolutely want to encourage that.
Well, good. Well, I appreciate that. And trust me, I've got enough of them, a list that I'm asking. And I also have asked DAI if he would do an interview with me. I've also asked Kevin Cage if he would do an interview with me, and I've also asked Sam I am. And guys, one thing that you'll learn about me, I'm not the tallest, I'm not the best looking. I really don't have any discernible talent, really, but except one thing, I am one of the most persistent people that I've ever met. So I will keep asking, and I will persist until I succeed, because I really want to know more about you guys, not so much about the news articles that you're sharing with me every day. And I believe that there are people in the XRP community who also want to know more about you guys. All right. So again, Tom, thank you very much for being here. I look forward to developing our friendship, and look forward to inviting you to come back again in the near future.
God bless you. Thank you very much.
Okay. Take care.
Bye-bye.